inside for Albert. Albert will get the score. It's farewell. He tapped into a legend and probably rugby league immortality. That's not a try, that's a miracle.
G'day, legends. Welcome back to the Take the Two podcast, heading into round 5, brought to you by Neds. Jump onto the Neds app, follow along with the Guru profile and the Guru group there, along with the About Even group. Follow along with all of our bets this weekend. The kid put the shovel on his back last week and dug himself out of a hole. We need Burmo to do the same this week. Give you the hot tip. Kid won't. How are you, mate?
I'm good. I'm good, mate. Rivalry round this weekend.
Mate, there's a bit going on.
This is probably the most exciting start to a season I reckon we've had, and I'll get in before some of the journalists jump in and say it's the tightest competition we've had in years. But just looking at the
For
games,
the 40th year in a row.
yeah, just looking at the games, and there's so many. Melbourne losing last week, Penrith, the story there. The Raiders, I think, were pretty good away from home, but can they bounce back against the Sharks that were underwhelming? So a lot happening, a lot of footy stuff. Chose to stay away from the DCE stuff. I don't know what you sort of viewed it, but I've listened to it all. You know what? I think it's really nice to see a player taking control of his own direction.
That's the whole thing I take away from this. It's good to see a player not only owning, but winning the narrative as well. And I think you can see a club on the back foot here. But I also think, mate, there's been a lot of things that have happened since we spoke last. I don't think we've learnt anything more.
No.
I don't think anything's changed. I think I will say the one thing we said last week was that there was not going to be a hope in hell DC runs out and gets booed. And fuck, I was glad to see the crowd just get behind him 100%.
How good was it? And he played up to that. I don't know if we've seen other guys who have changed clubs, and we all know who that haven't been able to handle that pressure of making a decision and go on and be professional. It's a great lesson for young kids out there. If you're going to make a decision, you back it up with your preparation and how you play. So it was good.
Yeah, and I love seeing a player just go and do it themselves via the media. Big thing in like American sport. Like I remember when Aaron Rodgers announced he was going to New York, just on the McAfee show, just sort of appeared over the. I know it was what's his name?
Devontae Adams.
Devontae Adams just appeared over the shot. Like that shit's mad. It's just taking control of the narrative, which I love.
And I reckon it's given fans an insight into like a bit more of the personality within the game that's been lost. Is we know Dal is so smart, and the way that he's been such a great performer, and we love how he plays the game. He's actually really, really smart dude as well, and getting the chance to see that. So I love the fact that he's controlling his narrative and he gets to choose how he finishes his career.
Yeah, that's unreal. Okay, let's get into some of the hot topics of the week. As I said, guys, DCE has pretty much dominated the last fortnight or so, but there has been a few other things we want to talk about. Latrell Mitchell returning at centre for his first game. I wouldn't say it's a surprise, mate. I'm very keen to see how it goes. I'm keen to see the sort of role that he plays. I think week 1 might not be the best indication of what's going to happen with this. Wouldn't be surprised if they're just looking to get some miles in the legs for Latrell before he starts to roam a little bit. But how do you think, you've worked with Wayne, how do you think this would have gone? Would this have been a Wayne, you're playing centre, or would this have been a conversation with Latrell? What do you think the best option is here? How do you think it sort of would have played out?
You know what? I've been obviously admiring Latrell, how he's turned into he's gone through some adversity last year, and it was well documented. What I've loved about it is he looks really happy under Wayne. I actually think, personally, I don't know, but I think he would have gone to Wayne and said, hey, I can be the one, but this kid's going great. And there would have been a mutual, hey, what's going to be best for the team? Because right now, no one predicted South to be 3-1 in the opening month, right? They are. Why come in and upset the apple cart? Come in, do a job for us. Campbell Graham's out, so Jack Whiten, his versatility is great. He can play anywhere. He's going to go to the right-hand side. Latrell comes in on the left. I actually think Latrell, knowing how influential he is in that dressing room and knowing that they are 3-1, the pressure's off him. It's not doom and gloom, 1 and 3. We have to put you back to fullback to try and create something with our attack. Everything's going good. We want you to come in and enjoy yourself. And he genuinely, not a shot at anyone else that's had him in the past or whatever, he genuinely looks happy. He looks extremely fit, which you would expect under Wayne, but he just looks happy, mate. So I reckon he just said, I'll play left centre, let the kid cook while he can.
Yeah, and it's not a shot at anyone, in particular. JD, obviously. Not a shot at him. It's just that it's Wayne Bennett. This is what he does. Like, dare I say, mate, I'd say as well, your career could have played out very differently if Wayne didn't walk into your career.
Yeah, but Wayne understood how to get the best out of me off the field in terms of my tidying everything up. And I said that about Brandon Smith a couple of weeks ago. I think under Wayne, we're going to see a different version of Brandon Smith that we haven't seen, to remind people that, he was the New Zealand hooker. He was the Dally M hooker of the year. But the one thing about Wayne, he trusts you, to get your prep right, and he'll help you with that. And I reckon, looking at Latrell, I reckon he's in for a big game. He comes up against another young stud in Rob Toyer. The Roosters. It's all Cinderella stuff coming back this week. It's must-watch TV.
Yeah, it's going to be unreal. Now, mate, when I look at the South Sydney makeup, Campbell Graham's out at the moment. Another injury, the poor bugger. When Campbell Graham's available in 3 weeks, are you expecting a Latrell Mitchell shift back to fullback at that point?
I don't think so. I think it'll be up to Jai Gray to keep performing right now. I think I'm a little bit disappointed with some of the commentary around the surprise that Jai Gray's leading the Dally M and all this kind of stuff. Just sit down and watch the kid. Go and, one, if you're not watching him, go and look at his stats. But two, he's a different kind of fullback to Latrell. He's going to bring the ball back. He's going to probably catch balls on the full, get himself in that position, because that's what he's really, really strong at. Attacking-wise, he's still got some stuff to learn. But I could see a world, and I said a couple of weeks ago, where maybe Latrell attacks at fullback and defends in the centres, and Jack Whiten goes to the other centre, and maybe Campbell Graham goes onto the wing. You could see a world where that happens. So I don't think it's a foregone conclusion that we see Latrell go straight back to fullback. It'll be up to Jai Gray to keep performing to those standards. And if he does, it's not a bad thing. Imagine having Jai Gray coming off the bench at 14. Mamazilis has been an unsung hero. You spoke about it on your podcast during the week. No one's spoken about him. They were worried about after Damien Cook. He can play 80 minutes.
Yep.
And Jai Gray could come on through the middle. Humphreys, Jai Gray could go into the halves. I think that you could see that.
I actually think, from watching Jai Gray come through the grades, I've always said I actually think 5'8" is better position.
So Walker could go to 7, Humphreys to 13, and Jai Gray goes to 6.
Yeah, could be
or
lethal.
Latrell to 6.
It's another option. Let me ask this, mate. If you were Wayne, and I'm sure it won't just be Wayne, it'll be Wayne, your mate Ben Hornby, putting these plans together. You just said, does Latrell become, the fullback when they get into the strike zone, red zone, whatever it is? How would you utilise, or how would you work that transition? Would it be once you cross halfway? Would it just be like in a red zone of 20 metres out? How would you sort of work it?
I don't think they'll do it this weekend. I think it'll be very much stay left centre.
Yep.
Let Jai Gray, let's not upset. We're 3-1. We don't have to reinvent the wheel here.
Yep.
I think if you wanted to do something like that, it would be play after play 2. You could get the ball brought back, winger comes in, and then you just switch.
Yep.
But it's a bit hard to sort of switch when you're going over the 50 all the time, because sometimes there's that good ball area where you're not really sure. They'd have to have a flat thing where it's just be after play 2. And you go in there. But maybe set starts, you might see Latrell go out the back if they've got a set play. But I think this week they'll just let Jai Gray. You've got to reward what he's been able to do. He's undersized, he's fast, but he's been playing great. So I think that there'll be a lot of... I'd love to see Jai Gray at the back, turning Latrell Mitchell back underneath and putting pressure on Chad Townsend and stretching that gap between Toyer and Townsend on that right-hand side.
Yep.
I think that's a play. The other part's going to be is Cody Walker drifting across, looking long, and then just bringing Latrell Mitchell back underneath, which we saw him in Origin. I think a lot of drop plays early for Latrell to get him involved and get him touches versus early ball.
That right edge for the Roosters this week is going to be a huge test for them. And, we keep talking about Latrell. Like, Kellen Colomatungi's out there as well, who's looking like a fucking maniac at the moment. Chad Townsend, Rob Toyer, I think both are under a little bit of pressure at the moment. I think Chad Townsend probably under pressure off the back of form, but I think Toyer's just under a bit of pressure because of Billy Smith, not in the side yet. He's killing it in reserve grade. Big game for those two, because if Latrell and Cody Walker and them put on a show, I could see a world where the Roosters make changes on that edge.
And they did it to the best defensive side over the last 4 years last week quite easily.
Yeah.
I don't know. This might sound completely arrogant and wrong, but is there not worlds where you put your best players, like you just go to Angus Crichton this week and you say, hey, mate, we need you on that right edge. We need you. We know it's going to sacrifice a little bit. Like, you shouldn't be left-right. We know it's going to sacrifice a little bit of what we're doing, but... We've got Colomatungi, we've got Walker, we need some help there. We need some experience there, because out on that right edge, you've got Latrell, you've got Walker, you've got Colomatungi. It's going to be a big night, especially if they get off to what the start they did last week.
Yeah.
They went down there exclusively.
I'm half expecting they've named Wong there. I probably think Nat Butcher will start there.
Well, he's Yeah, I think he had 45 minutes last week.
Yeah, just getting him back into it. but
Underrated.
Yeah, I think Townsend, Wong, and Toya, I think you're asking for trouble there against that edge.
And
so.
especially if they come out and score the first set down there. It's hard to make changes as a coach.
Yeah.
All week, you're like, boys, this is what's going to happen, this is what's going to happen, and then it happens. And then it snowballs from there.
Yeah, 100%. Just in quicksand very quickly. Mate, let's talk about the Bulldogs and the Sharkies. Obviously played each other on Saturday night. Game that I really enjoyed. Bulldogs sort of flexing a bit of muscle in that one. Would it be fair to say, mate, I think not only us, but the general public, maybe undervaluing the Bulldogs so far, maybe overvaluing the Cronulla Sharks so far? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, well, the Cronulla Sharks have been consistent in the top 4 the last couple of years. They deserve that.
Yeah.
Trindle had been playing great. That they look like after coming out from Vegas that they'd probably made enough changes to be in that conversation again.
Yeah.
The thing with the Bulldogs is we probably have expected the growth, but that was a game that was Sharks at home. That was a fortress at home. Kick out, Burton out. Like, we could stop saying that now because this side doesn't know how to beat themselves, the Bulldogs. They stick to a plan. I thought Hayward was sensational on that edge. The way he controlled the edge. Jacob Preston, again, they've got on that side, is Nickera.
Yeah.
So Cameron Ciraldo has probably said, hey, Jacob, you're our best back rower. Go over and mark their best back rower and see how you can come up with it. And he was probably the player of the match.
Yeah, I think he was close to the player of the round, to be honest with you. He was tremendous.
Yeah, they just don't beat themselves. Crichton comes in for that carry. Sexton, they stick to a plan. They go after you. And the thing that I love that you would hate if you're an opposition team at the moment is Reid Marnie.
Yeah.
He's going after you. The only way to stop people going after you like that is shut them up with your play. And when it goes up a level, you got to be able to turn it up. And I reckon that's the big thing for the Sharks out of the weekend. Not the fact that they lost the game, the fact that when the furnace got turned up a little bit, they needed to go with it. And I don't think that looking back at that game, they would handle it differently. They would handle it differently if they played again this week.
Speaking of Reid, I absolutely love, obviously all the in-game stuff and whatnot, but just the passion he showed after the game, how happy he was with the rest of his teammates. And I just love pricks that just love footy.
There's an underlying message here, though, because apparently he was being shopped in the off-season. What does that future hold? Has he got a new lease on life that they've sort of said, hey, mate, look, stop thinking about 3-4 years, just play. Just go out there and play, because he looks as relaxed, and you're right. He's loving footy more than we've ever seen it. Now, I think he should have got 10 in the bin for that shot.
I agree.
On Atkinson. But, again, the response, you would think there would be a response from that if they played again this week.
And you know what? Canterbury shopping him around a few weeks ago, from a football point of view, I can definitely make sense of it. I think Hayward would be okay there heading into the future. You brought it up a few weeks ago. From the intangible stuff, though, and what it means to be a Bulldog right now, I don't know if I could let Reid walk out the door.
No. And there's not a lot of, you would know more than me, but there's not a lot of nines that could fit into that mould that would be happy. I think when you've watched Reid in the past, there's been times where you're like, he just sort of overplays his hand a little bit. He sort of pulled that back. And if you go back and watch there on the weekend, they were using his width so good to get across 3 and 4 players to put pressure on, not to try for a try-scoring play, but the pass out in front, I think it was to Hayward, and he passed to Preston who scored, and then they went back there again. Go back and watch that. It goes past 4 players of Sharks. They're laterally having to try and get out, but Reid's passes on the money and getting them without having that, it's got to be my kick or my play or whatever. Like, he's just sticking to the system a little bit, and it's actually opening things up. I think over the next month, once teams start to figure out that width, you're going to see the middle open up a little bit more and have them flood through the middle. As
a ball player, what's so important about that wide pass?
Well, instantly, if you're passing to me from that side there, I'm trying to get onto the 4 defender.
What does that mean?
Which is the back rower. So I'd be trying to get to that. You want your back rower leading inside the half, and usually you have that block shape out the back, which everyone's the same. What it's actually doing, instead of a lot of teams play out the back, so by the time it comes to Yo or someone and they play out the back, you get a chance to slide off and defend. What the Bulldogs are doing is going straight across the front, going front load. They got runners inside, so the defenders on the inside have to hold up. Then you can look out, which is getting Preston, who just have that hard line runner. They don't even have Connor Tracy at the back sometimes. It's just at you. So instead of having coming off your defensive line and then looking at the back and shifting, which everyone does, and going out the back. Teams are having to go like this and square up straight away. So they're going, oh, shit, I've been beaten here with a pass. You got to square up. Outside edge disconnected and putting pressure on that. So I just felt that pass, if you have a look at the first two tries, the one to Preston and then I think Sherry scored, different looks from Cronulla. Ramian raced in on one, got his pants pulled down, left Nico by himself. Second time they held back. First time they held back, went straight through. Second time Ramian raced up and then they all went past the ball. So the width that Canterbury, it's dangerous. And he's always had that good pass. You remember when they made the grand final, it was cut out past the
He was
Moses.
like a union halfback.
Zip, bang, we're straight at you on an edge. Zip, back, we're straight at you on an edge.
I think to defend Reid for a moment, and I agree with you, as you just said, sometimes he overplays his hand a little bit. I think when Reid arrived at Canterbury, he had to overplay his hand a little bit.
Well, he was captain.
Exactly right. But now, I think Reid, and to his credit, I think there's a lot of guys that would struggle with this. He's sort of looked around the room and gone, okay, I don't need to be that guy. I just need to play my role here. And I think it's making a huge difference for him.
And it's powerful. In teams, you look at premiership winning teams, guys have got to sometimes sacrifice touches or the way they play to fit in. And the great teams figure it out. And that's why I don't think the Bulldogs are getting enough credit, to be honest, on how good they've started this year.
I'll tell you what is something else that's really impressed me with Canterbury that I don't think enough people talk about it. But, Reid and Burton arrive at the club. Not only are they the new face of the club, hey, we want you to be the captain of the Bulldogs for the next decade. A year later, they go, got a 24-year-old centre come in. He's actually going to be the captain. I would imagine in a lot of systems, mate, that could cause a lot of drama and fuck up a heap. You got a lot of egos you're dealing with there and whatnot. The way that Serraldo, how that hasn't become an issue in any way, shape or form, and he somehow got even better footy out of Burton and Reid, it's just full credit to the Canterbury Bulldogs on that front.
Last year, I know everyone says, I love playing with my team. They genuinely love it. They love playing rugby league. The scenes, the fans getting behind it. And it's easier when you're winning. I understand that. But they genuinely look like, hey, we're in this together and it's going to sink or swim.
And you know what? It is easier when you're winning, but that team had no right to win last year. No right whatsoever. They had no middles. There was like the squad. Like if you started last year, if you just line up the squads, I think most people would have had that squad in the bottom four.
Agree.
So it's not like...
Well, I don't think you had them in the bottom four. There was a lot of, regardless of where you had them on the ladder, there was a lot of conjecture around why they had so many utilities, how the puzzle was going to play out.
Yep.
I don't think if you looked at, you're like, who plays here and who plays there. But then when you saw it play, you knew they weren't going to... It was
once you saw it, you knew. But in the preseason, if you lined every squad up on paper, I reckon people would have put Canterbury squad in the bottom four on paper.
Well, nah. I don't... Crichton, Burton, kick out, that for me is enough of something than what you would have seen if you had just listed paper.
Yeah.
Preston.
Go back to the start of last year. No, like, people were saying they made the top 8 and they were getting laughed at. Like,
I think I had them in the top 8 last year.
Really?
I'm going to go back. I'm pretty sure I had them in the top 8 last year.
Bullshit on that, my friend.
I'm going to go back and check my emails.
I hope. Let's see it.
All right. From the show next week.
I'll ignore it if it's true, but that's fine. Mate, let's talk about the Sharkies quickly. We sort of already touched on them. And we spoke about this on Bloke the other day, and we've sort of said it previously. I think the criticism that Nico's getting at the moment is just ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. Did he play a great game? No, he didn't. But he didn't play a disaster game. I think it's very unwarranted. I think one, there's a lot of people in media who have worked out Nico's a good headline. He's good for clicks. He's good for views. And mate, I'm listening to some of the analysis from people on Nico. I'm convinced they're not watching the fucking football game.
It wasn't Braden Trindle's best game either.
It wasn't.
And I think that contributed because when you've got a forward pack, to be honest, I don't think the Sharks, like I said, if the Sharks played again this week, you'd see a totally different side. They got rattled.
Yep.
If they were just not on the same page on a lot of stuff. They have slightly changed their attack a little bit. The try on the left-hand side was great. I think Iro scored, but they have changed their attack a little. They used to have the swinging door shape where they just have 7-6-1 and then the centre and Ramian and that would swing. They're not doing that as much anymore, which says to me that they're trying to get different ways because people are defending that. But if it's working for you, I would have just stuck to that on that right-hand side. They seem very one side, we're going to do this, instead of a couple of years ago when they were singing, it was like that.
Yeah, my only argument against that and to defend, I think, why Craig Fitzgibbon is making changes, I think it's been the Sharks' problem the last 2 years. It works against 13 teams, but it doesn't work against those top sides.
But again, you've got to have something consistent that you can go back to, so that if it's not working, if you are changing style, because if they've changed their style, the one thing I would say about the Sharks is I think there's been arm wrestle where they've tried to out arm wrestle.
That's fair.
They've got players that probably need to just play.
Yeah.
They've got Nico, not a traditional 6. He needs the football in his hands. I even suggested, why don't you just switch him sides? Just switch him sides, a different voice to defend next to. You know, you get Trindle, maybe even switch him numbers. Psychologically, just go, here, you're in the
Mate,
6.
I would have done it at the start of this season. I can't believe he's still wearing 7.
Just have that sort of, and, you know, the other part is like, I just wonder what the conjecture around their spine, like, you know, Brayley, I think they could play off Brayley a little bit more to take some pressure off him. You know, at the moment, it's sort of, they get into this arm wrestle, 5 up for a bomb, which you want at times. You want that cycle. But there just seem times where we've both seen Trindle just go chip and chase. Or Nickera back underneath or a short ball, and then they double down the short side. And, you know, if we lose, we lose, but we're going to go down swinging. I reckon that on the weekend they tried to out-dogs the Dogs, and the Bulldogs are a bit further along and that's okay. That's okay. But now this Thursday tonight, becomes a huge clash for the Sharks because they're down in they're playing the Canberra Raiders. They need to get that win.
Yeah. You mentioned they're swapping like the 7 and 6 jersey. I want to explore that a little bit with you because it'll sound ridiculous to people. What number does it matter? It's on your back. You can't see it anyway, blah, blah, blah. I look at your career, mate. You won that comp. Ben Hornby was a halfback. You were the 6. I kind of felt like you were the halfback in that side, sort of dictating terms and whatnot. But then I saw you later in your career go to Penrith and you had the 7 on your back, and I think you were an older, mature, wiser guy who I think you were much more ready to wear that 7 jersey. I think that number, it does carry a lot more expectation and pressure than what probably people at home realise at times. Talk to me about that and sort of the mindset around that.
Well, I think when you're in the 7, you initially think that not the team is yours, but you're the most important player. You're finishing off sets.
Yep.
You're putting people in position. You're calling the set when the ball goes out. And most great halves partners have that yin and yang where you've got a ball runner like Moses Brown.
Yep.
You know, Brown, we've seen him struggle without Mitchell Moses. So when someone loses confidence like that, maybe just switching a number could mean nothing to anyone else and they go, it's only a number. But, hey, we just want you to run around and get your confidence back, chase kicks. You know, sometimes I felt in the biggest games, even watching people under pressure, and Reece Walsh is probably an example of this, like, Reece didn't change his game last week. He just worked harder off the ball. And the harder you work off the ball, the better position you get in and the more things break your way. So, yeah, for Nico, it's of course it's a confidence thing. It's not in a drink bottle just waiting to have a drink and he's back. But the standard of, if they were to win a comp this year and Nico, went through and did his job, like, does it matter how much he's earned if he's doing his job? So I think that what you said about the pressure on him at the moment, he's got to go out and just play. And I think just changing him sides, I honestly think that could be. And Nickera on that right-hand side with Braden Trindle could be even more dangerous for the Sharks.
Yeah, that would turn into a lethal combination in a heartbeat.
I'm not going to – people will shoot me down in the comments for this. Thurston Cooper was great for the Cowboys. The way that Trindle can run the ball, the confidence that he's playing with at the moment, pair him with your best back rower and give Nico a chance just to run around. You like it?
I don't mind it. Mate, let's talk about this week. You mentioned off the top a lot of rivalries this week, and obviously Southern Roosters is the headline act, but a lot of other crackers in there as well. You've got the Gutho Lomax Cup. That one's going to be a cracker. I can't wait to watch that one. And I think as well, mate, when you talk about the Gutho Lomax, you're going up against your old club. You had a number of games like this. I always used to love in your career when you arrived at the Dragons, like your game against the Roosters. Big game for you, but it was always Anzac Day.
Yeah.
It was usually it was the first time you met. I'd go as far as saying it was always the first time you met them that year, Anzac Day. And fuck, you had some days out. You
well,
enjoyed yourself.
5 from 6.
I know a
think we
man
went.
that enjoys himself, and that
5
was
from
one.
6. Yeah, 5 from 6. I think we went while I was at the Dragons. But yeah, you're right. Playing your old club, depending on how you left, I think. Yeah, for me, I was. I've sort of shunted from the Roosters and had to replace Freddie, and I wasn't able to do that, so I was let go. And when I went to the Dragons, it was always a little bit personal, and you always get yourself up for those games. I think that if you leave for other reasons or salary cap or whatever else, you probably understand a little bit. But I just felt going into those games that I just had to prove a point, and I didn't. Not that I went out of my wheelhouse. I just enjoyed the preparation. It was a big game early in the year. Anzac Day was the first big game. I think the first year we played on a Wednesday or something, so we had 5 days off afterwards. It was great. But it's the first big audience of the year, and that was easy to get up for me, being Anzac Day, but also against my old club in the Roosters as well.
Yeah. Gutherson this week takes on his old club. As you said, you were sort of shunned by the Roosters, to use your word. Parramatta definitely showed him the door. And I look at Parramatta now and I go, fuck, they could use a guy like Gutho in that squad right now. I think he's going to be up and about for this one. He was enormous last week in the wet. Gutho was huge, but I think this week he has a cracker.
The thing about Gutho that I admire is he's just such a competitor.
Yeah.
He's just an out-and-out competitor. The emotion that he plays with, he doesn't let him, he's changed clubs, but he's the captain for a reason. He's a great leader. He's emotional in how he plays the game. Coming up against this week against Zach, who I have no doubt wants. He's probably saying to Jason Riles, "Let me play 6. Like let me do everything this week." And he's going to be. You can bank him for 250 metres. Yeah, but the one thing about what you liked about the Dragons last week is they were happy to defend their way to a victory, and Gutho was at the forefront of that. He kept driving them, he kept riding them. They didn't overplay their hand. It wasn't pretty. They had to win, and they were gritty, and they did that. But I think when I left the Dragons and I went to Penrith, I just remember all week, just like, we're not losing this week, boys. We're not losing this week. And whether the other teammates respected that or not, or wanted to do it. Like you do want to do it for those guys so I can see Flano, he probably addressed it at the start of the week, but there'd be guys there that just absolutely love Clint Gutherson that are saying, I'm not letting you down, bro.
Yeah.
This is not for you, but for us, but this is for you. And unfortunately for Parra, they've struggled at the start of the year, so there's probably not going to be that feeling but it's a danger game for St. George because it's one that they should win to get their season back on track.
Yeah.
Parra, our little mate's starting, or your little mate that I've jumped on the bandwagon.
He's our little mate. We're on. We're on.
He's, I just think he opens up their attack a lot more. And
you can be his favourite uncle.
Yeah.
I'll always be dad, but you can be the favourite uncle, all right?
Riley Smith starting helps them, but it's just a different build-up.
Yeah.
You want to prove that you want to carry that chip on your shoulder.
I loved, mate, just on Zach Lomax. I heard him on a podcast last week, and forgive me, I didn't get the name of the podcast. Can't remember it off
There's
the
a Bradley Dryberg broadcast, I think.
Honestly,
In a sit down?
It was a sit down. It was very good, and I love. He asked him a question around have you been getting much, copying much flack this year for the move and everything? And I love that most guys have said, "Oh no, I don't listen to that. I don't read the papers. I don't." And Zach Lomax went, "Yeah, everyone's saying to me, a nice move, Zach. Try and win a premiership. Good on you, Zach." I love that Lomax just fronted that and went, "Yeah, I'm copping it left, right." And
Can't we normalise that?
Yeah, we should, but I could throw a dart out the window and hit an NRL player that wouldn't. I'd hate to admit that.
Read everything, still read everything. The comments, The problem is that the people that write the comments don't always want the smoke. So players are sort of trying to protect their brand, and to a certain extent they've got to.
They've got to some extent, yes.
And the club, the IP and all that kind of stuff. But Zach, his form's warranted. He's just played for Australia. He's had his best season ever. He's made a personal decision. And yes, the team's not winning, but is his form still the same?
He's looking sensational.
Right. So, last week he had a few errant passes, but it's a big week for him. I just hope that it's not carried away and lost in the game. Yeah, we want to see these guys go toe to toe. I think this has potential to be the game of the weekend.
I think it does too.
Just for the storylines.
Yeah.
Yeah, like Lomax, line it up, far touchline to win the game. It hits the post. It's extra time. Gutho kicks a field goal at Combank. Like,
Special.
that could be special.
Yeah, without a doubt.
Can I jump in and ask Sowie a question about this?
Yeah, sure. Welcome to Kat, by the way.
Hi guys, nice to be here. What's the actual chat like from a player perspective? So when you've got someone like Zach Lomax, who's now on your team, who played for the Dragons, what's the conversation going to be like amongst that para team from him? Is it for insight? Is there a bit of haggling because he has played for them? Like, what is that dynamic like when you've come from a rival team and then you're playing them for the first time with your new team?
Yeah, to be fair, I don't think Para would be too worried about what's going on at the Dragons. I don't think they can be. But Jason Riles would have gone to him at the start of the week and said, what can you tell us about how they're going to prepare and how they're going to play? I think that conversation would normalise. It's different because when you think of Parramatta, you think of Mitchell Moses.
Yeah.
He would be picking Zach's brain and being able to relay that. Whereas I think Jason Riles, and rightly so, should be the voice there at the moment. But, yeah, I think that when they run out, when is it, Saturday or Sunday this week, yeah, Zach would have had some stuff around how they're going to kick plan and stuff like that. But again, it's a totally different team. Like, there's no Ben Hunt, there's no Zach Lomax chasing. So, yeah, I'd usually you would have some insight at the start of the week about some key players if they're the same. But, yeah, other than right now, I don't think Parra would be worried too much about that. They've got to worry about themselves.
All right, now we asked some questions last week, and I've sort of settled on the one that I think we were just too hyped about this to not do it. So we're going to go through every single team and their home ground and talk about what we will always call that stadium. Now, side note, Kat, is your internet working?
I think so.
Good. Can you go through, Kat, just go through the ladder and just go from the top to the bottom, throw the clubs at us, and we'll talk each stadium and what their home ground will always be to us. And obviously, some clubs have multiple home grounds and whatnot. We'll touch on those. But obviously, new sponsors and everything come in all the time for new stadiums. But I think there will always be particular names that will stick with us. What do you got, Kat? Where are we starting?
Well, the internet issue.
The internet, yeah, I thought this might happen. This is good gear. This is
well,
good gear.
we can just kick it off with let's go.
I'm in. Okay,
never mind.
Bulldogs. They obviously Belmore is the heart.
Yes.
But if they're playing out there, and this will probably cover a number of teams and whatnot, but that stadium out at Homebush will always be ANZ to me.
It'll always be Homebush Stadium to me.
Just call it Homebush.
Yeah, just Homebush.
Yeah, ANZ's always stuck with me. I'm not sure why. Well, what's it called at the moment? A core.
It's
That's
core.
never going to happen for me.
No, but I think Belmore. I played there as a junior under Mike Maguire, and going to Belmore, there was something special about that because you'd watched so many games there. So it'll always. I just think Belmore to me.
Currently, Four Pines Park. It'll just be Brookie Oval to me forever.
100%.
I reckon it might be the one that will never change.
Nah, and we understand sponsorships, but when you say I'm going to Brookie this weekend, most people will know where you're going.
Yeah. I think a couple of years ago,
It's
was
not a
called
sludge fest
Lotto
anymore.
Land or something.
Yeah, Lotto Land.
That was an absolute train
What have
wreck.
they had? They've had Lotto Land, they've had Four Pines.
Was it them or North Queensland that was 1,300 smiles at one point?
That
was North Queensland?
That's North Queensland.
That was North Queensland, yeah. They always beat Brookie to me.
Yeah.
Always. Broncos. It'll always be Suncorp for me.
Well,
but I think you'll go further back.
Lang Park.
Yeah.
It's the Lang Park. It's people say, where'd you make your Origin debut? I say Lang Park. That's
fair.
You can say Suncorp all you like, but to me it'd be Lang Park.
Yeah, no, I knew you'd say that, and I backed that. What about the Melbourne Storm?
Oh God, that's nightmares.
The graveyard.
Yeah, Olympic Park.
Olympic Park was mine too. Yeah, had the
Olympic
track
Park.
around the outside.
Yeah, where I bounced across a couple of times. GI fending me off. Someone will tag
I think
it.
my favourite Olympic Park moment, Michael Witt scoring that try in that.
Not putting it down,
not putting it
2008.
down.
Yeah.
Shout out to Whitty. One of the greats. Did you ever play with him anywhere?
I did. Played with him over in Super League.
Yeah, right.
And I think he's real estate now.
Real estate. He's got his own protein business as well. He's doing really well, Whitty. Very good fella. Titans.
Oh, it's been Seabus for so long.
Been
hasn't it?
Seabus for a long time. I still remember when it came in. I think it was just
Rabina.
That's
Yeah.
sort of what But I do think, to their credit, I think Seabus has had a good nudge at me because
Are they at home this week?
Yes, Newcastle.
Get
right?
out there and support your
Yeah,
team.
fill that stadium.
You're going to make the 8. I want to see 20,000 there.
What about the Warriors?
Mount Smart.
Mount Smart.
Yeah.
Yep, I agree. South Sydney, they're obviously out at Homebush. It was obviously, actually, we'll leave that. But South Sydney, if they're at Homebush, same thing, right?
Yeah, Homebush.
Homebush.
Yeah.
Is one of my favourites, the Newcastle Knights. If we don't agree on this, I'll be shocked beyond belief. It has to be Marathon.
I was going to say 1, 2, 3, Marathon.
Marathon has to be, without a doubt.
I played there one night. I think it was maybe 07. And we walked in, and that was when the old dressing sheds.
Yeah.
And like on the way there, the boys were like, be careful, the sheds are going to be wet. And I was like, whatever. I got in, and someone had hosed the top of the sheds, and there was like
That was an old John's Brothers trick, though, I reckon.
yeah, and we lost. No,
Used to have the aircon blaring.
Yeah,
and
Marathon
hose it
Stadium,
and
for sure.
motherfuckers. Yeah, my memories of as a kid are there was only 2 times a year I'd go to Marathon, when Freddie was playing Joey and when Lockie was playing Joey.
Yeah,
And
right.
fuck, they were good road trips.
Oh,
Just when the goats were battling each other
They
and there
were
was
just-
24 other dudes in the way. It was
yeah.
fantastic. Unreal.
So many big moments before that stand came into.
All right, West Tigers. Got Leichhardt Oval. It'll never change. Campbelltown, I think they just sort of name themselves, don't they?
Would they? How many games? You get 12 home games a year.
Yep.
If they played 12 at Leichhardt, how many would they win right now?
Oh, heaps more than they'd win anywhere else.
9?
8 or 9.
8?
Yep. Probably. Does it, if they play too many there, does it lose that special thing to it, do you think, or not?
Tigers fans, 3 wooden spoons in a row. I don't think they care where they play. They just want to make the 8.
They're just Hank
If you
Marlin.
guaranteed 8 wins,
Fair.
Campbelltown West fans are off me right now, but that's not neither here nor there.
There's no questioning. Leichhardt is the better experience over Campbelltown for me.
Horrible place to play, but yeah.
Yeah,
sure.
nightmare. All right, Sharkies.
Shark Park.
Yeah, forever.
What was the actual sponsor when it was Shark Park though? Because it's Points Bet. It's
Whoa, 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 whoa,
Beep.
whoa, whoa. I don't know. And
when it was Shark
what was
Park.
it? Was it Ramonda Stadium for a while
Yeah, it was.
there?
Was that building company?
Yeah, maybe I can't remember. I don't
But
know.
when it was Shark, what was it originally? It was just Shark Park.
I reckon it was just Shark Park.
Sorry, Neds. Back
Oh,
to
you will be.
I
They'll
just
come for you, don't
googled.
worry.
I just googled, and it was known as Endeavour Field. Does
That's
that
right. That's the old school.
resonate?
name.
Okay.
That was
Back in
when
the
the
day,
Sludge
yeah.
and that were playing.
Yes, correct. Yeah.
yeah.
Now Shark Park's a cracker. They keep calling it Shark Stadium on the NRL website. I don't know if that's the other Voldemort
I've
betting
got a-
agency trying to get away from Shark Park
Yeah.
or whatever. I don't know.
I've got a list here. So it was Caltex Park, Shark Park, Toyota Park, and then
Toyota, that's what it
Yeah,
was.
Ramondas,
That was when
and
it
then
was Shark
and
Park.
Yes,
then
that's what it was.
So Toyota, Shark Park. Yeah, nice.
What was after Toyota?
so Caltex, Shark Park, Toyota, Ramondis, and then the one that shall not be named.
Voldemort.
Yeah.
You
No,
can
thanks.
bleep me out.
Oh, we will. Your Dragons.
Cogra.
Cogra?
Yeah.
What about Wollongong?
Win Stadium.
Yeah, I think
don't think you
I don't
can
know
get
if it had
cute with
a
it.
before win, but wins always worked for me.
Yeah, Win and Cogra. I always said, like, people said, oh, what was your favourite ground? And I said Cogra because when Wayne was there, like Friday night,
Yeah,
we
pumping.
just put the boots on and
Yeah.
it was win. Like we were just
Brett
going to
Morris
win.
had already scored a double. Canberra.
Oh, I've born in Canberra, so I was the old Seaford Oval.
Yeah, right. Okay. I was going to
Yeah.
say Bruce.
Yeah, but Bruce Stadium more recently. But yeah, I was at Seaford Oval watching Mal.
What's been the official name for Canberra over the last few years? Chad, have you got it there?
Well,
it's GIO
GIO.
now.
I'll have a look. One sec.
It was Bruce Stadium for a long time.
Yeah. Jeez, Bruce Stadium's an absolute cracker. I love that. No, that's like real rugby league.
That's
shit.
another.
That's pure.
Anything south of Wollongong for me was horror trips. I think I won Canberra once. That
Yeah,
penalty-
they had that huge hoodoo over you guys, didn't they?
Dugan scored in the last minute. Don't remind me. Last second, I think.
The only name that's coming up outside of Canberra Stadium is Bruce Stadium.
Yeah, it's been Bruce for a long time.
Yeah.
I like that. Panthers. I always just said Penrith Park.
I don't think it's been Penrith Park though. It's always like the Panthers at the foot of the mountain.
Foot of the mountains, yeah.
Like it's never had. I don't think they have like a stadium name. It was what was it? Chile.
Well, it was another betting agency for a while there.
Yeah, but it was a home loan specialist for a while. Chili Money, maybe, I think. But you just, when you say Penrith, you don't think of the stadium. You just think of, that's all you think of. Why don't other teams have something like that?
They all should. I love to when Penrith run out. They've got the Undertaker.
Yeah.
Tune too. That's hectic.
It's
point.
had a bunch of names. I've just looked it up.
Pepper Money. Pepper Money.
Yeah,
That was
Pepper.
one.
That is it. Was that when you were there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They
What
also
we got?
were McGrath Foundation Stadium. They've had a number of betting companies
Yeah,
sponsor
they've had a
them.
few.
Credit Union Australia, which was like 06 to 2010.
I have no recollection of that.
Side
Yeah.
note,
Yeah.
them at Combank is a different proposition. I know
Yeah.
people are saying, like, it's not the same.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think people are undervaluing it. And
It's-
I reckon the narrative will change quickly if they lose another game. But anyway, North Queensland, dairy farmers for me.
Yeah. Well, what is it? Queensland Country Bank?
Queensland Country Bank now, which I don't think is bad, but dairy farmers. Was it a Toyota at one stage too, or was
No,
it,
I think
was
that was just
their
a
major
sponsor.
Yeah, okay.
They won 300 Smiles.
That was a train wreck. That's probably the
awful.
GOAT train wreck. If it wasn't for
What's
Lotto Land.
worse, 1-300 Smiles or Lotto Land?
I don't know which
that's
is
neck and
worse,
neck.
but I can't fucking tell you who's third. It's daylight.
Dairy farmers.
Probably 1,300 Smiles is worse slightly, I reckon. Like it's shit and it's a phone number. It's a train wreck. Dairy farmers, it'll always be
Great
Dairy Farmers
stadium
for
up
me.
there, by the
Did
way.
it open being called Dairy Farmers, Mando? Have you got it there?
It's just the question on Google is what happened to 1-300 Smiles Stadium.
Doesn't shock me.
Yeah.
Someone woke up.
Also, just wanted to add, it is an underrated stadium. You're right. It's really cool.
It's a cool stadium. Yeah.
No one talks about
the
it.
new one?
Yeah.
Queensland
up there.
Country Bank
New
is so
one?
nice.
Yeah, new
Yeah, it
one's
looks
really
good.
cool.
It's got like
Yeah.
an open end, doesn't it?
It's just a
Yeah.
little bit different to Combank.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can
It's-
tell that Combank was built off, like inspired by it, but because of obviously the weather in North Queensland, it's missing another wall, and it has
Yeah.
a really nice breeze, and the sunset's beautiful. It's just
nice.
everything.
No,
I
it's
like
good.
that.
Yeah.
Unreal. We've got the Chooks next.
Oh,
I reckon we might differ here a little bit. What's yours?
the SFS.
Oh, good. I thought you were going to say Aussie. Yeah, it'd always be the SFS to me.
Aussie. Mate, 1994, Marty Bella drops off the kickoff. My first ever grand final. Mal's last ever game.
I
The
reckon there'd
SFS.
be a lot of guys my age, that slight age difference from us, that would call it Aussie. But yeah, always be SFS to me.
I was lucky enough to commentate the last game there before it was demolished too.
What game was that?
Roosters, Rabbitohs, 2018.
You know those 3 chairs over there from the stadium?
Yeah.
Well,
I've got
lined up.
I've got 6 chairs from Cogra as well.
You might have 5 if I get it my way.
They're scattered across Australia, mate. I'll get you one.
It's like the Dragon Ball Z balls. Go out and find them for me, all right? Dolphins, not long enough around to make that call.
Nah. Redcliffe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Parramatta. Mine starts with a P.
And Ryan's with Eck. Pertek.
Ryan's with Shurtek.
Yeah.
Yeah, Pertek for me.
Yeah.
Always. That was a cracker.
I played fullback there one day. First 3 kicks went straight down my throat. I don't think I did anything else. I only played 2 games fullback. That was my first game. I just caught the ball, dished it off to Walks and kicked. And then the next time in Melbourne, wasn't pretty. So,
Mate,
but Pertek.
we've just gone through all those stadiums there. Which one, what's the standout one for you that you saw when you were playing, you saw on the list and went, fuck, this is going to be a nightmare? What's the last one?
Olympic Park.
Olympic Park.
Olympic Park.
What'll be after that?
Bruce Stadium, because you always looked at when it was going to be cold. You're always excited to go to Suncorp. You're always excited to go, or Lang Park.
Yeah.
You're always excited to go to North Queensland because we didn't go up there much to Dragons. Always tough trips down south. Going to Mount Smart was always a tough one because of the depends. Wayne took us over 2 days early, I think, one year, just so we could adjust, and then we came back and played Melbourne the next week. But yeah, it's those ones playing at the SFS. I made my debut there. That was in front of about 600 people, I think, on a Sunday afternoon.
Is that against Melbourne?
Knights. It was 4-2 at halftime. It was an absolute slugfest.
What position did you
7.
start?
Yeah.
What year was that? 06 or
05.
05. Yes, that was right after Freddie.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Mate, I think with, I reckon most players would have this stadium. Did you have an away stadium, not a home stadium, an away stadium that you always felt you were the goods there? Like I always remember Sean Johnson during his career, whenever he would go to the Gold Coast, he would absolutely torch them. Mark Gasnier, one of your teammates, whenever he played at one of the Tigers grounds, he would absolutely torch them. Did you have one that you felt showing up to you going, oh yeah, no, I'm in for the, like, is it the SFS once you left or?
Yes and no. I liked going out to Penrith. I had a good game out there. I think maybe 09. And I just liked going out there.
Yeah.
So when I moved out there, I was happy. I was playing. Yeah, loved playing there. Loved playing at Cogra. But yeah, the way I think the thing about the SFS that probably you lose now, like Allianz is an amazing facility, right? But you're just walking down that tunnel and then when you come up and you go, like you're walking side by side and you come up. Now it's like
it's right.
There, yeah, you're hearing someone talking shit on the way up and you're through there. Like that was peak fan engagement. I like that. I like the old SFS where you had to walk up the tunnel and you celebrated wins. And
did going back to Cogra for the first time as a Panther, did you enjoy that experience or?
I don't think I played. I only played them at Win.
Really?
Yeah, I don't
Never
think
went
I
back
played.
there?
No, I don't think I played at Cogra once I left.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I think I only played them at Win and they got us on the buzzer, I think. So
Interesting. All right, let's get into our preview. Before we do, we'll just where do we go right and wrong last week? I think I speak for both of us, mate, where we went right. We tipped that Dragons bounce back. Well, actually, you tipped more heavy than I did. But we saw that Dragons bounce back coming from a mile away.
Yeah, just knew it was going to be gritty. He actually tipped he's going to listen to the podcast, he told me, but one of the swimming dads tipped him into Dragons Saturday morning while I was sitting there watching the kids. He said, I'm a bit of a Sharks fan. I said, oh, mate, yeah, big game for you tonight, but I like the Dragons. And I actually tipped him the Cowboys as well, so hopefully.
Well, that's going to be my wrong, mate. I couldn't make sense of the Raiders at $1.90. I thought that was specials. I still think if Savage passes that ball to Owen Paddy, it could be a very different story. That was the deciding moment in that game for me. But the Cowboys looked a lot better than what I thought they would.
I told you Drinkwater would just have one of those games.
You did.
It's just a perfect team for him to match up with. What did I get wrong? I'm on the Roosters. I'm probably the Tigers. I think was one that I got wrong. I was drinking the Kool-Aid a little bit. I probably should have more than that. But the thing with the Raiders, I think they need to bring Sanders in. Ethan Strange to me is an out-and-out tough bugger, runner of the ball, going to be a fantastic player. I just don't know if he has the finesse at 6 to help unlock that left-hand side. KO Weeks didn't see much ball.
Yep.
Rough night for him. But someone like Ethan Sanders, and plus if Jamal Fogarty's going to get a massive deal, it wouldn't hurt having him having 15, 16 games off the bench maybe underneath his belt. Like I could see Ethan Strange being tough enough to play in the middle.
Oh, fucking oath he could,
at 13, he could do a job there for 20 minutes and get some exposure there. But I think the Tigers threw that one away. They're gonna, if they miss the 8 by 2 or 3 wins or 1 win, that'll be the one.
Yeah, for sure, that will be the one for the Tigers. Just before we move off it, Leka Haliasima, that try that he scored. Can you give me a short list of other guys at 19 you think could have scored that try?
Is it better than the Fafita one? When he just rampaged up at 1-300 smiles? No, I'm joking. Up at Dairy Farmers. When he just absolutely for the Broncos?
Yeah, hard to split. Is it just because it was the match winner at the back end? Does it maybe edge it?
Oh, I don't know. I think the Fafita one's still better through the middle.
It's right up there.
Amazing athlete. Amazing athlete.
Yeah.
Like they had the Tigers when May goes over, if he scores that, they win. But they're probably my team to watch this weekend. They come up against the Broncos
Without Luai.
Luai.
Yeah, it's a big watch. Yeah, big weekend for them. Just on Ethan Strange, if you were to play Sanders at 6, would you, like, genuinely, what would you do with Sanders? Do you move him to centre? Do you bring, like, can you bring him off the bench? Can you afford to have Paddy and him off the bench? Or is he just unlucky?
Ethan Strange?
Yeah.
No, I think you potentially could start him at 6 and just move him into the middle.
Okay.
And then Sanders comes on.
So you're going to have Sanders, Anno and Paddy on the bench? Or?
Potentially. Mate, Strange is a football player. Run, get your hands on the ball, make some tackles. He's big enough. He's agile enough. I just saw it. There was a play on the weekend. I think Sebastian Chris kicked it dead.
Yep.
And he looked around and said, bruh, like, that's your kick. Yeah, that's your finesse. That's your responsibility. And you don't have to be Einstein to think, Ricky Stewart didn't throw any of his players under the bus.
Yep.
But he would have been upset with some of the attacking options because they are a better attacking side than the Cowboys at the moment. They know each other. They've been in better form, but they haven't been able to put it together. And some would say, like, Manly, they got blown out, but that's going to happen with a young side. They still did some good things. They were unlucky in some moments. They probably didn't handle it. But I just think that Ethan Sanders, you bought him there for a reason. You paid big dollars to get him away from Parramatta. What is he going to have to – and you get to learn under Ricky Stewart. I reckon that's where Ricky's gotten better. The longer he's gone on coaching is he's adjusted how to talk to people and get the best out of them, and that's why he's been such a long career coach. So I just think you put him on the left-hand side after 15, 20 minutes, even if you don't trust him at the moment to get 80 minutes out defensively.
Yep.
But you saw something in him to get him away from Para because he was the most talked about half other than him. I think Mitch Wood and, for me, Conti Bulldogs. Like, they're the three. You paid – let's get him in there.
And out of those two, I think he's the one that's the closest to being ready to first grade as well.
Yeah, and
at the moment.
Worst case, he gets 15 games under his belt. Fogarty takes the 800 or 850 at Manly.
Yep.
And you've got your halfback for the next 10 years.
Very fair. I like it. Kathmandu, we're going to go through those games. What have we got on Thursday night? Talk to me.
Okay, action kicks off this week on Thursday, 8 p.m. Raiders hosting the Cronulla Sharks at GIO Stadium.
Yeah, this one's going to be a cracker. I'm really looking forward to this one. The Canberra Raiders are at $2.35 on Neds. The Sharkies at $1.60. Obviously, two teams that lost last week. I think at home, I like the Canberra Raiders in this one, mate. I like them for an upset. Talk to me. It's a tough one.
Oh,
If the Sharks are what we think they are, it says ambush. Boys, if we're dead set serious about wanting to be title contenders this year, we have to show for ourselves, not our fans, not anyone else, for ourselves. I've got on the Braden Trindle. I did a clip about him that's been on my Instagram that's got, probably 300 or 400 views. I'm going back to the Sharks.
Sharkies, okay.
I just don't think he has 2 bad games in a row.
Yeah, fair. If I was having a punt on that one, I would take that line for the Raiders there. I like them. I think they'll get close at least. Kathmandu, next game.
all right. Next game is Friday, 6 p.m. We have the Panthers hosting the Cowboys at the interesting stadium you just noted, CommBank Stadium, which is their new home for this year.
Yeah, so the Cowboys at $4.25 on Neds. The Penrith Panthers $1.22. I'm going to copy and paste what I said last week. Surely the Panthers bounce back. This has to be the week, but I feel a little bit more confident on it this week than I did last week, even though I felt hyper confident last week. I think the Panthers win this one. I think Nath comes in and just grabs everyone by the collar and drags them with him.
I think they win. I think it's close. I think that the alarming thing for me with Penrith at the moment is their edges continue to change from week to week. I don't think they know what their best centre wing combination for both sides is. I said, in the Roo Crew last week, match roundup, which you can jump on and join.
Yeah, by the way, Sowie's jumping in the Roo Crew and doing videos for you 2 to 3 times a week, and they're fucking sensational. We normally have a phone call every Saturday and Sunday morning. Instead, Sowie's throwing it in there for you. So if you're not in the Roo Crew, 1, what the fuck are you doing? And 2, get in there.
Yeah. And I said, I just thought that there would have been a week where South down that left-hand side, right edge defensively for Penrith, that you have Alamotti, who's a great defender in the centres, Brian To'o, your representative winger on one side, To'o out, so that's going to make some changes. I just can't get a read on what's going on with Blaze Talangi. Like, he's in your team for Melbourne. He's out of your team for Souths. He's back in your team now. What do you think his best position is?
if I'm 100% honest, I don't know yet. I'm not sure he knows what his best position is yet. I think fullback is I said when he was at Parramatta last year, I think fullback is his best spot.
Which would be weird why he left.
Yeah, but at that point, Gutho wasn't leaving.
No, I know, but you're not going to if you're out and out fullback at Parramatta and Penrith go, mate, we want to buy you.
Well,
you're not going there for Dylan Edwards. You've got better a chance of taking off Gutho than Edwards.
But my understanding is that Penrith had said to him, "You'll be the 5'8". My understanding is that that's still the kind of the agreement. But from what I've been told, they're trying to protect him at the moment. So, but mate, you know, I hear that and I go, okay, I can make sense of that. Then 2 weeks ago, he's playing right centre for the Penrith Panthers in New South Wales Cup, and I'm like, hold on, what the fuck's going on here?
I said in the Roo Crew, my partnership right now, and Ivan's won 4 in a row, so he can tell us to jump in. You know what? Snyder at 6, Cleary at 7. 2 guys that can organise their edge, allow Cleary to play both sides of the ruck.
What's put you off Cole in the last week?
I liked what he started rough in Melbourne. I just think that last week was a chance with a young half for him to be that dominant voice, and I didn't see it.
Okay.
And when Snyder came on, they started to free up a little bit. People got into position, and sometimes that can be a little thing of, holy shit, I'm the man and I've got to put people in position, and you've got to be allowed. And sometimes that can take away from your actual game versus you worrying about yourself when Nathan Cleary's there and you can do all your things and make your tackles and chase and all that kind of stuff. Now you have to be the man. I felt sorry for the young half last week. He probably didn't have his best game, but they just look, playing reserve grade is not a bad thing. And Snyder's done a lot of it.
Yeah.
And he just looks like he's a seasoned vet I can come in and right now I understand my role. I'm going to pitch it for 6, 7, 8 games when Cleary's out through origin or injury, and I'm going to get it done.
Yeah, I don't.
And defensively, I think he's a bigger body and a better half defensively. I think he's the same
Then
as
Jack
Nathan
Cole.
Cleary. Yeah.
I know out at Penrith they rate Jack Cole in defence pretty highly, but he hasn't quite shown it this year.
Why not bring him off the bench at 14? Mitch Kenny last week, that tackle on Mawali, you don't see that from Mitch Kenny. So obviously, they've been up for so long. They're gonna have to find different ways to get people into the game, and that's why if you brought Blaze Talangi to be 6, he's only played 6 by. Don't forget, he wouldn't have played 6 down in Melbourne. He would have been off the bench or played for Dane Laurie potentially, but he's not the 6. If you brought him to be the 6. He's in the 6, and you ride or die with that. You don't buy him to move him around.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. I'm not quite sure how it's all going to play out there.
They're a big watch this week, but because Cowboys get on that plane, confidence, throw the ball around. Hey, boys, they're leaking 30 points a game. They're going to give us a chance. That's what the talk would be like, whether you like that or not. That's what the talk would be like. They're conceding 30 a game.
I think, as you said, Brian Tyler's a huge out. I think Scotty Sorensen's a big out for Penrith too.
Huge.
Like Isaiah Papali'i will do a job out there, but it just means you lose another one off the middle.
Yep.
Catmandu, what's our next game?
Arguably the most important of the weekend. It is Friday, 8 p.m. The Rabbitohs hosting the Roosters at Accor Stadium. The return of Latrell Mitchell as well.
How good. Now, the Rabbitohs are favourites in this one. Obviously, with Latrell coming back in and whatnot, a few big ins there for the South Sydney Rabbitohs. They are at $1.65. The Sydney Roosters at $2.25. I am going to go with South Sydney. I wouldn't say I'm hyper confident on it. I don't know what I'm going to get out of this Rooster side week to week. And, you saw what they did against the Panthers a few weeks ago. And whilst I think that is the exception, not the example, once again, you sort of do throw form out the window a little bit when it comes to this Roosters-Rabbitohs clash. I think, mate, this is the best Roosters side on paper we've seen all year. Lindsay Collins starting, Nat Butcher starting, Spencer Leniu off the bench. I do think it looks better than the sides they've put out previously, but I'm still going to go with South Sydney. What do you reckon?
Give me South very confidently.
Wow.
They know their identity. They know who they are. They're bringing back the big dog. Roosters still trying to work it out. Yeah, they've changed. Spencer Leniu back to the bench, I think, helps them, but Hubner back in the 13.
Wild how important he is all of a sudden, isn't it?
Oh, but they've got other guys. They've got the young boy from Dungog, Tallis Duncan.
Tallis Duncan, yep.
Yep. Mawali looked unbeatable last week against the 4-time premiers. Gray at back, Latrell. Too much. Means too much. Big game players just perform. South very confidently.
I like it. Next game, Kat.
Next game is the one that we were spending a bit of time talking about, the Gutherson Cup. Saturday, 3 p.m. Super Saturday kicks off with the Eels hosting the Dragons.
Eels at $2.40, Dragons at $1.57. I think the Dragons will get the job done here. I think Gutho gets MOM in this one. I'll tell you what, $2.40 for Parrots, a little bit shorter than what I expected. I like the change they've made with Riley Smith coming in. I think Dylan Walker will be a very good addition as well, but I just think the Dragons, they'll be too gritty in this one for me, mate.
Walker starts. Do you think there's a world where he starts?
I doubt it. What would you do then? You'd shift Jermaine, just into the front row?
I'd just put him in the front row and just, like, we're not going in to win 10-8 against the Dragons. Hopefully it's dry, which will, produce some points. But Smith to 9 suggests to me that they're going to go out there and just have a crack with their attack. They've got to try and get off to a fast start, score first, something. Again, still confused why Zach Lomax doesn't see 15 to 16 good ball kicks a game and just turn 2 or 3 of them into opportunities.
Got more last week, but not enough.
Yeah, but it's funny. Hawkins, he's been around for a while. Most guys, when they kick, are up the top. He's down here. He's palming it right in, which I think sometimes, I think sometimes gives him a misrepresentation of where he's got to actually distance the ball.
Yeah.
When it's like that, you can go straight up. When it's out in front like that, and you can see some of the kicks last week for Zach, they were just 3 or 4 metres off, which 3 or 4 metres off, people go, you can check. He's carrying the ball 30 times. Those kicks have got to be to isolate, to see the Clifford try, the Savage try. You want the ball coming straight down here, not into that space there.
Yeah.
So they need to be better kicking. I've got the Dragons.
I mentioned the other night, that Hawkins kicking style is very unique, isn't it?
He's almost, I was in front there. He's almost there and whipping it down. So it's a late whip. Still contacts the ball fantastic.
He still hits it well.
But, it's just some of those shorter good ball kicks, there's not much room for error, and they need everything to be perfect at the moment.
Yeah, for sure. Next game, Kathmandu.
All right, next game. That was really interesting, by the way, Sally. Thank you for showing us that because I had no idea. Saturday, 5:30 p.m., we have the Titans hosting the Dolphins at Seabus Super Stadium.
Titans favourites here at $1.48 on Neds. The Dolphins out to $2.65. Is this the week? Because if the Dolphins don't win this week, they go into Penrith and then Melbourne, and all of a sudden they could be 0-8. Is this the week?
Nah, Titans for me. That win against the Roosters, that's the other thing about the Roosters. I think they're not being patient enough. And, they're trying. They didn't go for a kick at 14-8. And that, to me, when your Titans goes, okay, sweet, they drop the ball that set, neck minute, Campbell, 100-metre try, and then it's Tino through the middle, like un-Roosters-like stuff. It's un-Titans-like stuff.
Yeah,
game 12-8. They want to win at 32-30. They go, hold on a second, we're going to defend our line here. 12-8, we're going to make it 14-8 or 12-all. Then it's 18-12, it's 30-12. And dare I say that they've finally not listened to Des Hasler, but they're adopting his style of let's not beat ourselves. We've got guys, we're going to jump into the way we want to play. We spoke about it every week on the podcast for the last month. Teams just playing your style, not trying to copy Penrith.
Yeah.
And everyone tries to, agree. Like, you're going to have some periods with 6-7 minutes where you kick, chase, all that kind of stuff. But if they can fix their kicking game up, they are a dangerous side because that forward back, Tino might win the Dally M.
I am looking at the line and I'm putting my testicles on it this week. I'm going to take the Dolphins for an upset.
Oh.
There you go, okay? If they lose, you won't hear about it. If they win, though, you best know you'll hear about it this week. Next game, Kat.
All right, the last game to round out Super Saturday kicks off at 7:35 p.m. We have the Broncos taking on the Tigers at Suncorp.
Tigers at a whopping $5.80 without Jerome Luai at Suncorp. Broncos $1.14 on Neds. We can't say there's no hope after what we've learned this year, but geez, I'd be shocked to see Brisbane lose this one, mate.
Yeah. They're Procure on an edge. Ricky's out. You've got Hunt bench, but that's obviously Jaden Hunt.
Jaden Hunt, yep.
I think Michael Maguire would be – this is a revenge game for him.
Oh, yep.
But I think he'd be looking for a little bit more polish on how they start games, Brisbane. Against Roosters, they conceded the first try. Against the Cowboys and the Dolphins, they've had long periods of where they had the defence and taken the gas out of them. I think he'd be concentrating on the start, knowing that Tigers are coming to us. We've got 8 out of our next 11 games, including Magic Round or something at Suncorp. We want to be 7 from 8 at least. And this is a game where we want to show our start. And if we're serious, and if you're for the Tigers, Benji, Dewey back, I think, is an inclusion to help Galvin. But, these young guys, they've got nothing to lose. They go up there and score first, and it's raining. Who knows what could happen. But this will be the week where you see what the future looks like with Galvin and Fainu. I've got Brisbane, but, I think Michael, there's a little storyline here about Michael Maguire and what he wants to see from his side.
I agree with you. I think this game, and I don't have anything to back this up in any way, shape or form, but I'm looking at the Broncos halves. I think they're the most experienced halves pairing we've ever seen. This West Tigers halves pairing would have, 45 games between them at
They've
absolute
got 35
max?
games, I think, between them.
35. I reckon that would be the biggest gap between halves ever. Even if you had two halves that were playing their first game ever, I don't think they would have played against two guys that have played 300 plus or whatever.
No. And they don't have to, they're not playing those two guys. They're playing the Broncos. That's what they need to, hey, let's kick chase. Let's chip for each other. Let's,
Don't ruin my fun fact, okay?
Don't try and out Broncos.
Zero, what are you doing to me?
Sorry, mate.
How dare you?
Sorry.
What's
Sure
going
show.
on?
Sure show.
But yeah, what did you think of last week when he came on?
Injection,
Yeah.
excitement. Liked him in the middle. Scored a great try. I think that, like I said, that was a game watching where you were like, this is why Galvin's got all the hype at the moment, and they're going to have to keep him. They're just going to have to find a way to keep
However
him.
you do it, just
do it.
get desperate, do it. You got no
Do
choice.
it. Yeah, if it's 6 years, 7 years, whatever.
Yeah.
Just do it, because last week he was the main guy. I know Jerome hurt his shoulder, but they look dangerous there and they've got some cover. Now we get a chance to see what the cover's like, the depth, because the balloon popped last week. The game at home, they'd been on the road, a lot of raps about how they beat the Dolphins, and rightly so. It's NRL's tough. Week to week, you got to do it.
I think that Galvin deal at the moment, mate, like I look back at James Tedesco is probably the biggest one that got away. But you know what? At the time it was, Teddy can't put a season together. He's always injured at least. Galvin is, like, I think that would just be the heartbreaker for that fan base.
If they lose him.
Yeah.
Oh, and if they lost him to Para.
Like, I don't know if he'll end up being a better player than Teddy, but I think it would break the heart more of West Tigers fans than when Teddy left.
Yeah, agree.
See how it plays out. Sunday afternoon footy, Cat.
Sunday afternoon, 4:05. Getting pretty used to seeing the Sea Eagles at this time. So they'll be hosting the Melbourne Storm, who fly up north to Brookvale. What a game.
Manly at 2:45 on Neds Melbourne Storm. Favourites at $1.50. How you feeling about this one?
I've got Manly. Ooh. I've got Manly. Lehigh at 1. Yeah. I just think last week, Manly, they would have put all that stuff to bed. It was a professional win. It wasn't great, but there were some moments there. The thing about the Melbourne Storm, if Hughes is in, right, I reserve my right.
That makes me wonder if Hughes is in, to be honest
I
with you.
reserve my right to pick Melbourne, because he is Melbourne, not their best player, but in terms of he gets people into position better than other people in the competition. I think. And we've seen how important Nathan Cleary is to Penrith. I think Jerome Hughes is just as important to the Melbourne Storm, and he's more important to Cameron Munster and Pappenhausen. They don't have to do frontline stuff. They can just go out there and roam, and people are in position because Jerome's put them there. Hughes is in. I'm taking Melbourne. If he's out, I'm taking Manly.
Has Jerome Hughes declared himself as the MVP of this side?
I don't think he has to.
Over Harry Grant?
I just think Harry's got so much defence to do, and people are, when you're doing video, you're like, right, don't take a dummy, don't bite on him at marker, like all that kind of stuff. He's watched so much, whereas Jerome's, he's the steadier. He's what Cameron Smith was in 2020. to Hughes and Munster. He's that guy that gets everyone in position, he kicks long, all that kind of stuff. And you saw last week, I thought Wishart tried his ass off. He had, nearly 20 runs.
Yeah.
But it's a different looking side when Hughes isn't there. And up against Manly Sunday afternoon, if the house is rocking and Eddie and Tommy are up on the hill, slanging beers over the hill at the Melbourne boys, and we know
sure
the
they will
rivalry
be.
there. We know the rivalry there. I just think Manly.
I'm going to go Melbourne, but I get where you're coming from. Last game of the week. Oh, this will be an interesting one.
It will be an interesting one. And a shame it's not at Belmore. I think there's a missed opportunity there. But at Sunday 6:15, we will see the Bulldogs take on the Newcastle Knights at Accor Stadium.
Doggies at $1.46 on Neds. Newcastle Knights outsiders at $2.75. Still both edge back rowers out for the Newcastle Knights. Leo Thompson is back in, coming off a bye. The Knights 2 weeks to prep for this one. I am going to go for Canterbury, mate. I just think we spoke about them earlier in the show. I just think they are the real deal. I think defensively they'll be too good for the Newcastle Knights. I think Canterbury in a tight one. What do you got?
Tricky time slot at a call because it's not going to be, Sunday night's just a tough time slot to go out and watch the game. I've got the Bulldogs based off what we saw last week, but I wouldn't be surprised. Knights, they would be stewing over that loss to the Titans. That was one that they got away from them, and a couple of teams are having that theme. So I think that the Dogs are just too professional. If they're serious about where they're going this year, Cameron Serrato doesn't let this one slip. Who have they got next week, though? That's the big watch for me.
Canterbury?
Yes.
Okay, can you have a look at that?
Yeah, having a look.
Because if they've got one eye, if they play like a Melbourne,
They might have a bye next week, to be honest with you. They've got a bye in the next 2 weeks, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, so they're on the bye next week.
Oh,
And then the following,
hey boys,
Who do they play coming out of the bye? Is it Warriors?
no, they play the Rabbitohs.
hey boys,
Oh, Good Friday.
we win tonight. We're having the week off.
Yeah.
You'll do recovery tomorrow. We're having week off. Canterbury for me.
If you put a Dill Lucas in there, I start to look around the room, but I think Canterbury, those edges missing, it just takes Frizzell out of the middle, and I think that'll hurt them too much.
Jacob Preston.
Oh, for sure. But, mate, those Newcastle edges, they're important to that side.
They are important to that side, but Jacob Preston, performer of the week last week, as voted by you.
Canterbury 1-12, 4 million that one with Neds. All right, my Neds same game multi for this week, legends. I have gone with Tom Jenkins, the Milky Bar kid from the Penrith Panthers, to cross $2.30 in this one. Latrell Mitchell in his return game, $2.05. I've got Gutho in the Gutho Cup down there, $2.15 on Neds. And my last one, I've got the Dolphins hanging in this game. I've even put the balls on the line here for an upset. I'm going to take Herbie Farnworth. He's at a big $3.15 in that game. You're getting $31.93 on Neds. You can follow along on the Guru profile on the Neds app. Go and download it. Did you get to KFC last week, or was it open?
Yes.
Mascot?
Yeah. Yeah.
How good?
KFC Zinger, Pepsi, 6 nugs.
Didn't go for the max.
Actually, bone to pick with you.
Okay,
I
good
came
to
in
go.
here early today and I thought I'll just see what's in the fridge because there's a lot of stuff in here that's for show.
I know exactly.
I know where
I
this
went
is
to the
going
fridge
to.
and there was like a half-opened packet of something, salami or something from a party I've had here.
Her, not me.
I don't even
And-
know what you're talking about.
Definitely you.
And there
Has
was
to be you.
3 bloke beers,
Yep.
right, which I was happy with.
Shout out to Kempy.
There was a half-drunk Coke Zero, which I was filthy at because it would have been flat.
Guilty.
And
That's all you.
And then there was 2 Pepsi Max cans and a bottle of Coke. So what did you think I went for?
Did you get sucked into some Coke?
I had 2
Good.
cups of
Good
Coke.
man. I like that.
With the on the way in. But no, I'm just not a Pepsi Max guy.
Mate, I'm telling you, it's underrated.
Coke Zero.
I can get around Coke. I think you're really sleeping on Pepsi Max.
I've tried
You know,
the Pepsi Max.
my question to you, Guru, is every time we go to a restaurant or a cafe, you ask for a Coke Zero. Why aren't
Because
you
most
asking
people
for
don't have
Pepsi
Pepsi Max. I know how to read the room.
But you're not even asking.
no,
That's
but
because it's-
you can tell when you walk in somewhere.
No,
You can
you're
tell.
right.
Is it 'cause-
you can?
yeah.
You can eyeball in place, and you know they'll just be Coke guys. You can tell. You'll all agree with me in the comments. You know when you walk in somewhere whether it's a Coke or a Pepsi.
Well, most people have that. The Coke Zero is more popular.
100% it is. Yeah. I don't know
Pepsi
why.
Max,
but
it's a niche.
it's niche, but you know a Pepsi place when you walk in. It's got a vibe to it. You know that they're not
it's
cheap
called
to society.
KFC. It's called KFC.
Shout out to the cafe downstairs. They actually offer both. Dual threat.
Do they?
Dual internationals. Very good to see. We go for a little brewski.
Yes, let's go.
Giddy up. Thanks, guys. See you next week.
What's gambling really costing you? For free and confidential support, call the number on the screen or visit the website